Cheers, boys. It was another successful week of Sunday's Finest Fantasy Football. And here's the Week 8 recap coming at you. So we'll start off with our high scorer of the week, which was Joe with 128 to Craig's 81. Joe had his defense, the Ravens D, go gangbusters on Thursday Night Football with 30 points. With backing that up with Wentz with 21 points. Jordan Howard at a respectable 13. Melvin Gordon 22. Jeffrey 15. Jimmy Graham showed up with 15 points. So it was a good overall effort. Taking down top score of the week. Congrats for 25 coming your way. Had Craig, Drew Brees, kind of having a disappointing year, 11 points versus Chicago. LaShawn McCoy went off 26 points. Then after that, it was not good until you get to your kicker, who had 14 points. So good win for Joe. Tough loss for Craig. Joe to 6-2. Craig to 4-4. And next we'll go to DC versus Chuck, with DC pulling down the win, 118 to Chuck's 88, with Will Fuller pulling down 27 points with a big win for Texans. Then you had Matt Ryan, decent day, 19 points. Kareem Hunt not having a good couple games, only 6 points out of him. Lamar Miller had good points there with 18. He had Sanu with 13, Gronk with 11, Seattle D with 10, Justin Tucker with 12. So good overall, all around good day. Only two players didn't really do much for you, but 118, that was definitely enough. Not quite for a high score, but enough. Then you had Chuck with Dak, your boy, only 6 points. Zeke went off 27. Won't be seeing that for 6 games now. Then you traded away Jay Ajayi, who only had 3 points. Traded away, who else did you trade? I think it was Amari Cooper and Kelvin Benjamin, which both didn't really do much. You had Bengals D, 13 points, and your kicker had 15, but just not quite enough this week with only 88 points. DC moves to 6-2. Chuck to 4-4 as well. Then we had John versus Winston, with John taking down the win with 91 points to Winston's 62 points, with Nuke Hopkins going off for 33 points for John. And then you had Tom Brady with solid 20 points, Mark Ingram with 11, and Blair Walsh with 11. That was pretty much it. You got 0 out of Cole Beasley, 1 out of T.Y. Hilton, 4 out of Carlos Hyde, 3 out of Jason Witten. Can't rely on just a couple players, my friend. You need some depth. I want to make some trades. Trade deadline is coming up next week, November 15th. Read about it. It's coming up. Then you had Winston. Not a good week. Not a really good season. That's going around, though. It's a theme for your teams, right? It's rough here. It happens. Winston only had 3 points for you at quarterback. You had Isaiah Crowell, who I cast away. He had 15 points for you. Eagles defense had 20 points. Zach Miller, oh my gosh. That was, I don't know if anybody saw that. That was pretty disgusting, and he almost lost his leg. That's insane. He had nothing because he basically almost snapped his leg off in the end zone during the Bears game. That was really the highlights for your team. Winston was just the Eagles and Isaiah Crowell. Everybody else did shit for you. So, yeah, you might want to make some trades too, buddy. Your team's pretty rough, and at 2-6, it's looking rough to even make the playoffs. So, good win for John. John needed it. Tough loss for Winston because he needed it too. John, you're at 3-5. Winston, you're at 2-6, and in the cellar. And next we have myself versus Travis. I pulled out a win despite my leaving Deshaun Watson on my bench with 91 to Travis's 78. Had Travis Kelce and the Chiefs defense go off with 21 and 19 points on Monday Night Football, which is what saved me. Had 12 out of Kirk Cousins, Alvin Kamara with 12. And my receivers all sucked. So, yeah. You had 78 out of Cam, or 78 total. He had 14 out of Cam, 11 out of Le'Veon. Slow week for him. Panthers D did good, 16 points. Your kicker did good, 12 points. Everybody else, not so good. So, tough loss, Travis. Good win for me. And we both moved to 4-4. And lastly, we have Nate versus Miller with Stop the Presses. Holy shit. Could Russell Wilson single-handedly save Nate's fantasy season? Is it possible? I'm not sure if it is possible, but Russell, did you put in a call, Nate? Do you have a inside line to Pete Carroll? Did you get on the phone and say, Pete, let it fly. Let Russell Wilson do his thing. Help me out. I'm doing terrible in my fantasy season. But you had 45 points out of him. You had 86 total points, so you do the math. That's over half your points right there. And then Miller, he had 79 points. Not a good week for you. And we're experiencing technical difficulties. So, yeah, Miller, you're at 5-3. You're all right, looking halfway decent. Nate, you moved to 2-6. You're in the cellar. Again, not looking so good for you. Might want to make some trades, make it happen. See if you can somehow pull something out of. I mean, technically, you and Winston are only one game behind John. And standings are 6-2 DC, 6-2 Joe, 5-3 Miller. And then you got 4-4 teams with Chuck, Travis, myself, and Craig. Then you got John all by himself in the last playoff spot at 3-5. Then you have Nate and Winston at 2-6. So yeah, it's looking rough for your 2-6 folks. Everybody else is in play and a very fluid situation. Let's look ahead to the matchups for week 9. We have the Battle of Craig and Travis, which right now Travis must have 2 bye weeks, so it's only projected 94-69 for Craig. Then you have Miller versus Winston. Winston really needs a win. It's got 1.89 to 88 for Miller for the projection. Then you have John versus Joe. John really needs a win. Joe must have some bye weeks because the projection's 89-69. That's not good for having all 9 players in, so you must got some bye weeks too. So that should be interesting. Then you got battle of first versus worst with DC at 6-2 versus Nate's 2-6. And Nate, you're projected. It's projected as a dead heat at 78 points apiece, which not good for Nate. Then lastly, you have myself versus Chuck with 92 points for myself to 74 points for Chuck. But Chuck just made a big trade, got a few new players, so I'm sure that's going to change that projection when that trade clears. So it's going to be an interesting week. Week 9, we have just 5 weeks left of the regular season. Trade deadline coming up. It's be interesting to see if anybody's wheeling and dealing, trying to improve their team. And yeah, we'll see how this week plays out, boys. It should be interesting. We got some interesting matchups. And right now, everybody's got something to play for right now. With Nate and Winston being at 2-6, they're only one game back of the last playoff spot. So, boys, good luck. Except for you, Chuck. Not this week. We're going against each other. So, cheers. And we'll see you next week.